Right now, your body might actually be fighting off a threat that is doing, well, it's doing more physical damage to your cellular structure than grief or divorce or even a physical injury.
Yeah, which is just wild to think about.
Right. But, I mean, a doctor won't find the cause on an X-ray or an MRI because the threat isn't a virus. It's not a genetic mutation. The threat is, it's literally sitting in your bank account.
It really is. And, we have this tendency to just sort of wave away financial stress as like just
Yeah.
a bleak reality of modern life.
Yeah, just part of being an adult.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. We label it as a mental burden or, I don't know, just a bad mood.
Yeah.
But when you actually strip away the social narrative and look at the raw biology, the story completely flips.
It totally does.
Financial stress is, it's a highly destructive, measurable chemical reaction that is actively running in your bloodstream.
And that is exactly what we're exposing today. We've gathered this really fascinating stack of research for today's deep dive.
It's some incredible data.
Yeah. We're looking at a massive new British blood study, the 2026 Financial Anxiety Barometer, and some incredibly revealing behavioral data from Wealth Enhancement.
Right.
Our mission today is to figure out why all those, sophisticated budgeting apps on your phone just keep failing you,
Right.
and how your own physiology is secretly taking the wheel and dictating your financial reality.
Which requires a fundamental paradigm shift for anyone listening.
Yeah.
Because society insists on treating financial stress as just a thought to be managed, like something you can fix with a better attitude or,
Yeah.
a highly optimized spreadsheet.
Right, like if you just math better, it goes away.
Exactly. But the data we have today undeniably proves that it's just false.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because the methodology of this British study, it completely blew my mind.
Oh, it's fascinating.
We are talking about researchers analyzing the blood work of nearly 5,000 people over time. They were hunting for very specific proteins and hormones that the body pumps out when it's under chronic stress.
Yeah, they were looking specifically at inflammatory markers.
Yeah.
And, immune system responses, the actual biological precursors to severe immune breakdown, heart failure, and even premature aging.
And the results, I genuinely had to reread the page.
I don't blame you.
They looked at all these people experiencing just catastrophic life events. And, I would have bet my life savings that the people with the highest concentration of those toxic illness-linked compounds would be the ones going through a divorce.
Right. Or grieving.
Yes, or grieving the death of a spouse. But they weren't. The highest levels of measurable bodily damage were found in people experiencing financial strain.
Yeah.
Wait, I have to push back on that for a second, though. Are you saying losing a spouse produced fewer physical markers of bodily decay than just, being broke?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the difference between acute trauma and chronic, unrelenting systemic pressure.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So grief is devastating, obviously, but it is a process that humans have biologically evolved to move through over time.
Like there's a biological endpoint to it.
Exactly. The nervous system eventually processes it.
Yeah.
But financial strain in the modern world, it never shuts off.
Mm.
It is this persistent, daily, low-grade alarm system.
Wow.
And the researchers found that this specific type of financial pressure puts you at a 60% greater risk of developing a serious health condition.
60%. That is massive.
It is.
And we have, 61% of Americans carrying this exact type of financial strain every single day without realizing what it's doing to their organs.
Every single day.
It completely changes how we approach the entire concept of personal finance. We've been treating financial stress like a software bug.
Right.
Like a glitch in our thinking that we can patch by just, reading a new personal finance blog or repeating a positive affirmation. But this study shows it's a hardware meltdown.
I love that analogy.
The machine is physically overheating and destroying its own circuitry.
That hardware analogy perfectly captures the reality. Because the surface story we're all told just says, just stop worrying about money.
Which never works.
Never. It assumes the stress is just a cognitive loop in your head that vanishes the second you balance your checkbook.
Yeah.
But chemistry doesn't care about your checkbook.
It really doesn't.
That cortisol and systemic inflammation is surging through your bloodstream right now, completely independent of whether you are actively thinking about money or, trying your hardest to distract yourself.
But I guess why does the body even care? That is the friction point for me.
How so?
Well, money is technically just a concept, right? It's just digital numbers sitting on a glowing screen in a server somewhere. Why on earth does the human physical form react to abstract numbers with such devastating, organ-damaging chemical force?
Oh, that's all because of a massive evolutionary mismatch.
Okay.
So the human brain, the exact same organ responsible for every single financial decision you have ever made, was last fundamentally updated roughly 300,000 years ago.
Wow. So we're running ancient survival software on modern hardware.
Precisely. 300,000 years ago, every single threat to a human being was physical. It was immediate, and it was highly visible.
Like a predator.
Right. A lion stalking you in the grass, or a rival tribe encroaching on your territory, or a flash flood. To survive those highly specific physical threats, the brain developed an absolutely brilliant response system.
It hits the panic button, like the
Uh-huh.
classic fight or flight response.
Yes, exactly. The brain perceives the threat and immediately floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes to pump oxygen to your extremities. Your muscles tense up.
Ready to run?
Right. And, crucially, your body immediately pauses every single function that isn't absolutely vital for surviving the next 90 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Your digestion completely stops. Your immune system pulls back its energy. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical planning part of your brain, is just completely overridden by the amygdala.
So it's basically shutting down non-essential systems.
Exactly.
Mm.
Every non-essential system is shut down so that your survival protocols can run at 100% capacity.
Okay. I mean, I understand how that saves your life if you need a 30-second burst of superhuman energy to climb a tree and escape a lion. But a 30-year mortgage is not a 30-second threat. It seems like leaving those systems shut down long-term is what causes the hardware meltdown we talked about.
It's catastrophic. I mean, credit card debt is not a predator you can outrun and then relax in a cave afterward.
Yeah, you can't outrun interest rates.
Exactly. Job insecurity isn't a flood that washes past you and leaves you in peace. These are modern, abstract problems, but your 300,000-year-old brain literally cannot tell the difference.
It just sees danger.
Yes.
Right.
When you look at a medical bill you can't pay, your brain processes it with the exact same chemical response as a physical predator about to attack.
And that perfectly brings in the data from the Penny Hoarder's 2026 Financial Anxiety Barometer, because that really quantified the sheer scale of this alarm system.
It's a staggering number.
They found that Americans spend the equivalent of 96 days a year worried about money. 96 days. So the biology we were talking about here. I mean, our bodies are essentially treating a negative bank balance like a physical tiger that is just sitting in the corner of our living room staring at us for 96 entire days a year.
Yes, 96 days of your immune system being suppressed,
Yeah.
96 days of your digestive system being compromised.
That is exhausting just to think about.
It is. It's 96 days of your body genuinely believing it is under physical attack from a threat it can't fight, it can't run from, and it can't even see.
Wow.
When you look at the physiological toll, the back pain makes sense, the insomnia makes sense, the late-night chest tightness you mentioned earlier. It makes complete sense.
So your body isn't just being dramatic.
No, not at all. It's responding exactly as it was perfectly designed to respond.
It's just reacting to an environment it was never built to navigate.
Right.
But, if our bodies are stuck in this relentless 96-day survival mode, the human brain has to find a way to escape that level of physical pain, right? I mean, nobody can sustain that level of systemic agony without looking for an exit.
This raises such an important question.
Yeah.
And it's exactly where the behavioral data from wealth enhancement comes into play.
Oh, right, the behavioral side.
Yeah, they wanted to know what Americans actually do when the financial stress hits its peak, when the cortisol is suffocating and the body is in full threat response mode.
And the answer they found completely flips the script on how we view financial irresponsibility.
It really does.
When people hit that absolute peak of financial stress, 39% of them do the exact same thing. They spend money.
Yep.
And they don't spend it on catching up on their bills. They buy something entirely unnecessary.
What's fascinating here is the underlying neuroscience driving that purchase.
What's happening in the brain?
Well, when a brain is drowning in cortisol, it is in absolute agony. It frantically searches the environment for anything that will produce a dopamine response to counteract the stress chemistry.
Just to force a feeling of calm. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you look at our modern consumer economy, a purchase is the single fastest, most friction-free dopamine delivery system ever engineered.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's one tap on a screen with Apple Pay. It's one click of a button. It delivers immediate, guaranteed chemical relief to a brain that feels like it's dying.
But the research highlights the dark side of that transaction. Because it provides relief, yes, but for how long?
Right. It's what I call the 11-minute illusion.
I love that term.
You click buy, you get that rush of dopamine, and for about 11 to 15 minutes, the cortisol actually recedes. Your nervous system finally experiences something that resembles safety.
You can actually take a deep breath.
Yeah, but then the reality of the purchase registers in the system. The digital numbers in the account drop.
And the original financial threat comes roaring back.
Mm.
Only now, it's larger than it was before the purchase.
Because you have less money.
Exactly. So the cortisol spikes again, but the baseline is even higher this time.
It's incredibly tragic. The brain's deep, instinctual cure for financial stress, which is the dopamine hit of spending money, actually becomes the primary driver of the disease.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's like drinking salt water when you're dying of thirst in the ocean. It feels like relief for a second, but it's actively accelerating your demise.
That is exactly what happens. And that biological loop compounds over time, slowly at first, and then all at once.
And the collateral damage is huge.
Immense. The sources noted that nearly a quarter of Americans have completely paused their retirement planning.
A quarter of them.
Yes. And we look at that statistic, and society judges them for being irresponsible.
Yeah.
But it is crucial to understand that they aren't abandoning their future out of apathy.
No.
The sheer cortisol load of managing present-day survival is consuming 100% of their mental and physical resources.
There is literally zero bandwidth left for the year 2050, when your biology is convinced you are fighting a tiger today.
Exactly. They are acting biologically, not irresponsibly. You simply cannot think your way out of a cortisol response. You cannot motivate yourself past a nervous system that is trapped in fight or flight.
Okay, but, I mean, understanding our ancient brain doesn't actually pay the mortgage?
True.
If willpower is useless against a 300,000-year-old biological alarm system, and budgeting apps don't work when we're panicked, how do we actually break this loop?
So the research on financial recovery points to an unspoken rule that you rarely hear in traditional wealth management.
Okay, what is it?
The individuals who successfully recover their financial stability are not the ones who start with the most brilliant spreadsheet.
Interesting.
They're the ones who treat the physical cortisol response as their first financial problem. You must manage the body before you can even attempt to manage the money.
And the sources laid out a 3-step process for this, right? But I have to admit, I read the first step and immediately threw up a red flag.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step 1 is pattern interrupts. The idea is that you have to physically signal to your nervous system that the threat level has dropped. And the data suggests physical actions like walking outside or splashing freezing cold water on your face. And I have to stop you there.
Go ahead.
If I am short on rent, telling me to go splash cold water on my face sounds a lot like toxic wellness advice. How does wet hair help me pay my landlord?
I completely understand the skepticism, but it's not wellness advice. It's hardcore neurology.
Okay, explain that.
Remember what we said about the prefrontal cortex? When cortisol is high, the logical, planning, rational part of your brain that knows how to balance a budget and negotiate with a landlord, it's essentially taken offline.
Because the survival brain took over?
Yes, your survival brain has hijacked the system. So splashing freezing cold water on your face triggers the mammalian dive reflex.
What does that do?
It physically forces your heart rate to drop and resets the vagus nerve.
So the goal isn't to suddenly feel, happy about being broke.
Not all. The goal is simply to bring the chemical threat response down just enough so that your prefrontal cortex can turn back on.
Oh, I see.
You cannot formulate a plan to pay your landlord if the part of your brain responsible for planning is literally disconnected by a cortisol flood.
Okay, that makes total sense. It's a hardware reboot.
Exactly.
Which brings up the next hurdle. Let's say I reboot the hardware, I'm calm, but the negative bank balance is still there.
Right. The math hasn't changed.
Yeah. How does the brain process the actual math without just panicking again? And that leads into step 2, specificity.
This is arguably the most critical piece of the puzzle.
The research shows that the human brain produces significantly more cortisol in response to an unclear, vague threat than it does to a clear, known problem.
Yes.
If you just walk around with this hazy, unnamed dread that, money is bad or I'm drowning in debt, your brain goes into absolute overdrive.
Because an unnamed fear is infinite.
Yeah.
It's the monster in the closet.
Exactly. And that infinite fear is exactly what pushes the survival brain to spend money just to get 11 minutes of relief.
Which means the single most biologically protective financial act you can take is to inject specificity into the situation.
Name the monster.
You have to look at the actual numbers. You have to open the bank account, read the exact figure, and name the specific problem. Like, I am short exactly $240 for rent.
And, I mean, looking at a negative number doesn't feel good. It probably looks terrible. But looking at the specific number takes it out of the realm of an invisible shadow monster and turns it into a concrete math problem.
Yes, precisely.
When it's a specific math problem, the prefrontal cortex lights up and gets to work. You're giving the brain a target instead of a ghost.
And once you have that specific target, you move to step 3, comparable dopamine.
Because we still need dopamine.
Right. We established that the stress spending loop happens because the brain demands a dopamine hit to survive the cortisol spike. You cannot use willpower to stop that demand.
You just can't fight it.
No. So you have to replace the delivery system.
You have to find an action that delivers a fast dopamine hit that actually works when you're stressed but doesn't require a credit card. The sources mention things like high-intensity physical exercise, genuine social connection, or even a creative task where you can see immediate visible progress.
Yeah, the activity itself doesn't matter as much as the criteria. It has to be highly accessible, and it has to work immediately.
So you are acknowledging your biology instead of fighting it.
Yes. You are saying, my brain needs dopamine right now to survive this panic, but I am going to choose a delivery system that doesn't lower my bank account. You are building a parallel mechanism.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, in a practical sense? Let's say it's Tuesday night.
Okay.
You sit down at your kitchen table with your laptop to look your budget. You open the screen, and immediately you feel that tightness in your chest. Your breathing gets shallow, your stomach knots up.
We've all been there.
In that exact moment, the most financially responsible thing you can do is not to force yourself to stare at the spreadsheet and white-knuckle through the panic.
No, please don't.
The best financial decision in that moment is to physically stand up, walk away from the table, go to the bathroom, and splash freezing cold water on your face.
Absolutely. Because if you force yourself to sit there while your biology is screaming that a predator is in the room, you are going to fail.
You'll just shut down.
Your prefrontal cortex will shut down. You will likely end up closing the laptop and buying something online to soothe the panic.
Yeah.
By walking away and managing the physical stress first, you're actually taking control of your financial reality.
It completely rewrites the script on personal finance.
It really does.
And for anyone listening right now, I really hope this takes a weight off your shoulders, because financial stress is not a character flaw.
No, it's not.
It is not a math test that you are failing because you aren't disciplined enough. It is an ancient biological alarm system that is misfiring in a modern world it wasn't built for.
That's perfectly said.
The stress is physically rewriting your biology, but now that you understand the mechanism, you can change the inputs. The most powerful financial decision you can make today is to stop fighting your biology and start working with it. Get your prefrontal cortex back online. Name the specific threats.
And, if we pull back and look at this through a slightly wider lens, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We've just established that our biology actively punishes us with a massive, toxic sled of cortisol whenever a threat is kept vague. But it begins to calm down and problem solve the moment a threat is specific and named.
Right.
If that is true for our bank accounts, what other areas of your life are you currently paying a massive physical cortisol tax on simply because you are avoiding looking at the actual data?
Oh, wow.
What other invisible tigers are hiding in the relationships or career choices that you refuse to name?
That is a lot to think about. Think about that tonight, especially if you feel that tightness in your chest. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.